Satoru Mikami is killed after he awakens in a cave in an unfamiliar fantasy world to discover that he has been reincarnated as a slime, possessing various skills formed from his final thoughts before death. While exploring the cave, gaining new skills along the way with the aid of a great sage residing in his mind, the slime comes across and befriends an ancient dragon named Veldora, who was sealed in the cave centuries ago. The slime, who was given the new name of Rimuru Tempest, helps Veldora to find a way to break his seal by using his predator skill to swallow him inside of his body and analyze it from both sides. After gaining some more skills from swallowing other creatures, Rimuru finds his way out of the cave after a group of human adventurers open up the entrance. Rimuru then encounters a group of goblins, who ask for his help in protecting them against a group of dire wolves. Working together with the goblins, Rimuru battles against the dire wolves and kills their leader, forcing them to surrender. Convincing the goblins and direwolves to live together in harmony, Rimuru gives them all names, but then passes out for 3 days due to overexhausting his magic. When he wakes up, he discovers the names he had given to the goblins and direwolves had caused them all to evolve. Realizing that the goblins have no skills to craft houses and clothes, Rimuru and a small group set off to the town of Dworgen to seek help from dwarf artisans. Arriving at Dworgen with Gobita the goblin, Rimuru ends up getting in a fight with some thugs and is thrown in jail. Rimuru is eventually set free after providing the guards with potions and is introduced to Kajin, the blacksmith. Using the magisteel ore he had gathered in the caves, Rimuru helps Kaijin fulfill an order of longswords in exchange for his help in providing artisans for the goblin village. As Rimuru and the dwarves celebrate at an elf bar, a figure approaches. A fortune-teller elf decides to predict Rimuru's destined one, showing him of a vision of a girl parting ways with her family. When Vesta, the minister who ordered the swords, arrives and insults Rimuru, Kaijin punches him in anger, resulting in both him, Rimuru, and the other dwarves getting arrested and put on trial. During the trial, the hero king Gazel Dwargo, who has a history with Kaijin, exiles him and his men, who join Rimuru as his team of artisans. After also exiling Vesta for his dishonest actions, Gazel, noticing Rimuru's connections with Veldora, dispatches a ninja to follow him. When the group of adventurers who discovered Veldora's disappearance from the cave, Aaron, Kaval, and Guido, are ordered by a guildmaster to investigate the forest, a masked girl named Shizu asks to join them. When they run into trouble, they are rescued by Rimuru, who recognizes Shizu from the elf's vision. As Shizu reveals she was summoned to this world from Japan during the war, Rimuru shares some of his memories of a modern, peaceful Japan. What Rimuru doesn't know, however, is that Shizu's summoner, the demon king Leon Cromwell, has made her the vessel of the fire spirit Ifrit. Shizu recalls the anguish she felt when the Ifrit inside her killed her friend after considering her an enemy. Just as Shizu prepares to leave with the adventurers, Ifrit once again takes control of her and unleashes his flames upon the village. With his water attacks proving ineffective, Rimuru copies Aaron's ice magic spell to take care of Ifrit's minions. Discovering that he is immune to fire attacks, Rimuru uses his predator ability to swallow Ifrit, separating him from Shizu in the process. Shizu tells Rimuru about someone known as the Hero, who took her in and showed her the right path before mysteriously disappearing one day. Sensing her life coming to an end, Shizu, not wishing her body to remain in this world, asks Rimuru to eat her, giving him the ability to take a human form. As Rimuru seeks out information about Leon in order to convey Shizu's final words to him, a masked man named Gelmud recruits an orc that he names Geld, with the intention of bringing forth a great orc disaster in the forest. As Rimuru familiarizes himself with the form and abilities he inherited from Shizu, the goblins come under attack by a group of ogres, who claim Rimuru has been manipulating orcs to attack their village. After a show of strength, Rimuru manages to convince the ogres that he is not their enemy, and invites them to the goblin village to talk things over. Learning that the orcs who attacked the ogre village were being led by a masked Majin, Rimuru proposes that the ogres join him as his subordinates. Agreeing to a temporary alliance until the orcs are defeated, Rimuru names the ogres Benimaru, Shuna, Shion, Hakuro, Soe, and Kurobe, evolving them into Kajins. Meanwhile, the chieftain of the Lizardmen, sensing an orc lord is controlling the thousands of orcs heading their way, sends his son, Gabidu, to enlist help from the goblins. It has been a few days since Benimaru and the other ogres joined Rimuru. Gabidu arrives at Rimuru's village to try and get everyone to serve under him to fight the orcs. Gobita is sent in to duel against Gabidu, defeating him quickly with the skills he's learned and forcing the Lizardmen to retreat. Later, Rimuru is approached by a dryad named Trainee, who asks him to defeat the Orc Lord. Trainee explains that the Orc Lord has used a unique skill, Starved, on the orcs, causing them to constantly crave sustenance, go berserk, and even eat their own to gain more power. Accepting Trainee's request, Rimuru sends Soe to negotiate with the Lizardmen for an alliance, as the chieftain urges his soldiers not to engage in battle with the orcs until Rimuru's group arrives. Gaiburu, swayed by the words of Gelman's messenger, Laplace, usurps the chieftain's position and leads the Lizardmen into a direct attack on the orcs, unaware of the Orc Lord's true power. Rimuru's group comes across Gabidu's sister, who informs them of Gabidu's coup d'etat and asks them to rescue the chieftain and save the Lizardmen. Meanwhile, Gabidu and his troop find themselves cornered after the orcs eat one of their soldiers and gain their powers. As Trainee discovers Gelmud and Laplace and forces them to leave the forest, Gabidu struggles against the orc general, but is rescued by the arrival of Rimuru's group. The gang defeat the general and most of the orc army, while Sue rescues the chieftain, after which Rimuru goes to confront Geld, the Orc Lord. Gelmund suddenly appears, revealing he created the Orc Lord in order to turn him into a new Demon Lord. After failing to beat Rimuru, Gelmund is killed and devoured by Geld, who evolves into the Demon Lord Orc Disaster that proves too powerful for the Kajins to defeat. Realizing Geld's power, Rimuru has the Great Sage take control of his body in order to fight against him. But after Geld develops fire resistance, Rimuru resumes control and engages in a battle with Geld to see who can consume the other first. Learning that Geld was on a search to end the famine affecting his people before he was manipulated by Gelmud, Rimuru devours his sins along with his body. Afterwards, as the orcs are freed from starved effects, the Kajins decide to continue serving under Rimuru. Rimuru forms the Jara Forest Alliance to allow the Lizardmen, goblins, and orcs to live together in harmony, inadvertently ending up as the Alliance Chancellor. Rimuru bestows the name of Geld onto the Orc Lord's son, evolving him into the Orc King and the other orcs into High Orcs. Then he gives the Lizardman chiefman a name Abidu. Later, Gabidu is excommunicated and exiled from the Lizardmen, and embarks on a journey. 3 months later, Dwarf King Gazel and his army appear at the Goblin Village to challenge Rimuru to a duel, and determine his true nature. After Rimuru succeeds in blocking all of his strikes, and upon learning the two shared the same swordmaster, Hakuro, Gazel accepts he's not evil and offers a treaty between their groups. The Jura Tempest Federation is formed and recognized as an official nation. 2 days after forming an alliance with Rimuru, Gazel visits again, bringing Vesta, who apologizes to Rimuru and Kaishin for the trouble he had caused in the past, and begins to work for them as a researcher. Gabidu and his sister, along with several other lizardmen, also become Rimuru's servants, evolving into dragon newts after Rimuru names them. Sometime later, Milimnava, one of the demon lords, takes an interest in the Jura forest after the Orc Lord's defeat, and approaches Rimuru. Fearing for their master's safety, Ranga and the Kijins appear to defend Rimuru, but can do little against her overwhelming power. In the end, Rimuru calms Milim down by putting some honey into her mouth, and the two become friends, with Milim deciding to live at the village with him. Rimuru's council gets concerned with Milim and Rimuru's new friendship, as the other demon lords can view it as a threat to their balance of power. Vesta succeeds in developing a full potion to equal Rimuru's potions, prompting Rimuru to accept negotiations to develop low potions in the city. Just then, Phobio, Beastkeeper of the Demon Lord Carrion, comes to Tempest with the intent of taking it over, but is promptly dealt with by Milim before Rimuru resolves things peacefully. Offering Milim a new weapon in exchange for information, Rimuru learns that the other Demon Lords have their sights set on him for foiling their plan to create a puppet Demon Lord. Later, the Border Survey Corps, led by a man named Yo, joined Aaron's party, come to Tempest, where Rimuru asks them to take credit for defeating the Orc Lord. Meanwhile, the Demon Lord Clayman takes an interest in a powerful beast known as Charybdis and sends Tyr the Harlequin to investigate. While Phobio fumes over his humiliation at Milim's hands, Tyr and Footman, two of Clayman's Harlequin, approach and convince him to become a Demon Lord himself so he can get revenge on Milim. All he must do is let Charybdis possess his body and maintain control. Phobio breaks the seal on Charybdis, Tyr reveals she was under orders to revive Charybdis and send it Milim's way. Trainee's sister, Trya, warns Rimuru of the arrival. Born from a cloud of Veldora's magicules, Charybdis is the mindless ruler of the skies, focused only on destruction. It has summoned 13 Megalodon from the spirit world to aid in its rampage, and is heading to Jura. Rimuru and the Dwargen Empire prepare for battle. Assisted by 100 Pegasus Knights from Dwargen, Rimuru's forces destroy the Megalodons and attempt to destroy Charybdis with a full-scale attack, but fail. Rimuru then battles Charybdis himself, only to discover it's possessing Phobio, and its true target is Milim. By Rimuru's request, Milim defeats the Charybdis while sparing Phobio's life. After the battle, Phobio apologizes for all the trouble he caused, and his master, the demon lord Carrion, establishes a non-aggression pact with Tempest. Rimuru and the others finally discover that all the troubles they had faced recently were caused by Clayman's Harlequin. The city celebrates its victory with filleted Megalodon. That night, Rimuru has a dream about Shizu's regret over not being able to help her students, 5 children brought to this world. Rimuru goes to the kingdom of Ingracia with Ranga to see them. There, he meets Yuki Kagudazaka, the grandmaster in charge of the children, a teenager himself. Yuki arranges for Rimuru to teach Shizu's students, but warns him that while the two of them are otherworlders who came here, the children are summons meant to be weapons for the summoner. They have so much energy in their young bodies that it will kill them within 5 years. Rimuru vows to honor Shizu's wish and find a way to save them. Shizu's students don't show Rimuru much respect, so he decides to show them the difference in their skill in a series of duels. Kenya uses fire magic, Chloe water magic, Gale fires magic bullets, Ryota uses body enhancements, and Alice uses puppetry to control toys to attack him. They lose and accept him as sensei. Rimuru visits Trainee, believing the children will survive if inhabited by superior spirits, since Shizu was summoned as a child but lived to adulthood possibly because of Ifrit. Trainee directs him to the dwelling of spirits, but with the Queen of Spirits the Dryad once served dead, they have lost their link to it and no longer know the entrance. While on a picnic with the students, they see a sky dragon heading to the capital, and Rimuru interferes and eats it with gluttony. Mjolnir, a merchant Rimuru's appearance saved, invites them to dinner. Mjolnir knows who Rimuru is, and Rimuru invites him to come to Tempest to help them sell their wares. He agrees. Mjolnir's assistant asks the Queen of Spirits to protect the children after dinner. She tells a curious Rimuru she came from a village near the dwelling of spirits. He, Ranga, and the children head to its location. Rimuru, Ranga, and the students enter the dwelling of spirits, and a spirit in the opening labyrinth battles them with a giant metal golem to test them, though Rimuru quickly incinerated it. The labyrinth spirit introduces herself as Ramiris, one of the 10 demon lords, though she's so small no one believes her. She explains that Leon, who summoned Shizu, used to be a hero before he fell from grace and became a demon lord. Likewise, she used to be the Queen of Spirits before dying and returning as a demon lord. In exchange for creating a new golem for her, Ramiris agrees to aid Rimuru in summoning superior spirits. A plethora of inferior spirits answer the prayers of Gale, Alice, and Ryota, so Rimuru devours them and turns them into 3 new superior spirits, which successfully inhabit the 3. Kenya summons and is inhabited by a superior spirit of light. An unknown spirit-like being appears, Veldora reacting to its presence. Despite Ramiris' attempt to stop it, as she feels it is dangerous, it still possesses Chloe. Regardless, the dangerous energy in the 5 children has calmed, so they'll not die in a few years. Rimuru makes a new golem for Ramiris and they return to Ingracia. Yuki finds it unlikely the nations that abandoned the children will try to take them back, so they should be able to live normal lives. Rimuru doesn't tell Yuki how he saved them. Rimuru thinks about the past 2 years and declares all their problems have been solved. He gives Chloe Shizu's Magicule suppressing mask, but isn't certain why, simply feeling it was for the best. Unknown to Rimuru, a shady woman is spying on him. A dying woman summons a demon to avenge her and her partner, and the demon agrees to her request, deciding it would be an amusing distraction. Shizu's memory. Shizu is summoned to the kingdom of Flitwood with other adventurers to stop a demon from taking its remains under the castle and reviving. After hearing the silver wings, a pair of famous adventurers were killed by the nameless demon. Some try to withdraw. The minister refuses to let them leave, revealing some are possessed by demons, which causes paranoia among the group. One of the crowd, the demon from before, starts laughing, claiming the knight summoned the lesser demons but does not explain. Hired to kill a demon, he reveals he intends to kill all the other adventurers present to find the responsible party. Shizu refuses to let that happen and duels with the being, who calls himself Kudo. One of his blows is reflected by Shizu's mask and takes off his arm. He decides to withdraw, saying the fight was amusing because Shizu was able to hurt him. Afterwards, Shizu recalls how Leon told her the most powerful demons were the progenitors, known by colors like rouge, red, and noir, black. One of the knights summons her to King and takes her beneath the castle. It is revealed the king and minister were puppets of the same demon she was hired to stop, who has taken on the persona of Orthos, the hero who previously defeated him, thus gaining the name Orthos and becoming an archdemon. They intend to sacrifice the adventurers and Shizu, who is still worn out from her fight, to regain his full strength. Orthos is able to defeat her, but Kuro timely appears and kills the king and minister. He reveals he was summoned by the dying Silver Wings to avenge them and keep his promises. He scolds Orthos for being overconfident despite being a dependent of Rouge and destroys his soul. Officially, the king and minister were killed by Kuro, who Shizo then defeated. As long as they keep their story straight, Kuro says that he has no reason to target Shizu before leaving. In the post-credits, Kuro observes Rimuru through a scrying glass and declares that next time Rimuru will lead him, quote, to the truth of this lost world. Subscribe to the channel, I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this. See you at the next one.